whispers about Thrawn's return.
So in case you didn't notice, there's been a lot of Star Wars news over the last few days at the Star Wars celebrations, and I'm going to break that down later on, but I want to talk about the main trailer that dropped this weekend, the Ashoka show. So as always, I'm Al, this is a Peek in Review. Now, if you've only seen Ashoka in live action, then you've only seen Ashoka in live action. She was introduced in The Mandalorian Season 2, but she's got a huge, rich backstory in the Star Wars universe thanks to the Clone Wars animated show. She was also one of the main characters in Star Wars Rebels, which is going to play a big, and I mean big role in this show. So we're going to see some previously animated characters brought to live action, as well as seeing some areas of space we've never seen in the Star Wars universe. And we're going to get some people who, let's just say, interpret the Force a little bit differently. Now, I'm going to talk about the trailer, and then I'm going to talk about some spoilers for the show, so I'll give you a heads up before I get into that. But before I do, just to say, thanks for watching. And if you want to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel, there's absolutely nothing stopping you. I'm at 500 subscribers and I just want to keep growing, and that's down to you. So thanks for the people that have already subscribed and watched my videos. And you know, be part of that. Or don't. So anyway, the plot, well, we get a little bit of the trailer here and what it's given away. Obviously, we're getting the big bad of Admiral Thrawn. I'll get into him in a minute. But yeah, we see Ashoka on some sort of quest. In the opening scene, she's at some sort of old Jedi temple by the looks of it. So from what we can pick up from Mando Season 2, when she showed up there, that's probably Grand Admiral Thrawn, that's the one that she's after. And also Morgan Elspeth, who was in the second season of The Mandalorian, she's going to play a huge role in this show. In fact, I think she's going to be in quite a lot of the episodes from what I hear. But I'll get to that. But yeah, from what we can tell, Ashoka seems to be looking for something other than Thrawn here. And that's where Sabine Wren comes in. So she's a character from the Rebels animated show, and she's a Mandalorian. Because remember, it's the Mandoverse these days. And the last time it was seen Sabine Wren and Ashoka together was the end of the Rebels show, when they were looking for Ezra Bridger, who coincidentally had went missing with Grand Admiral Thrawn. So is this thing to the temple part of the quest for Ezra? I don't know, but someone's definitely after Ashoka. As we see by the looks of it, when she's exiting, she's fighting some of the sort of old school droids that we've seen in Revenge of the Sith. Now, pay close attention to the red helmets, or not really helmets, but you know what I mean, red heads and red markings on these droids, because I think they might come into play or might seem a little bit familiar once you've seen the end of the current season of The Mandalorian. And it's not just Ashoka we get in the trailer, we get the villains as well. Valen, played by Ray Stevenson, who, by the sounds of it, is going to be an ex-Jedi turned to the dark side, maybe a sort of Inquisitor type. He's got a really cool sort of heavy-looking lightsaber that's orange. And he's also got his own apprentice, though I don't think we see them together in the trailers. And he's talking about a new beginning, so he's probably talking about bringing the Empire back, or the New Order, or the First Order, I should say. This show, I think, is going to really build on what happened to the Imperial Remnants, definitely 100%. But we don't get too much of the villains here, or what they might be up to. There's quite a few cool lightsaber scenes, and from what I hear, this show is going to be full of them. But anyway, another character we get introduced to, or I should say reintroduced to, is Hera, who again is another character from Rebels, played by Mary Elizabeth Winstead. And she shows up here, well, both her ships show up here. The Ghost, which is the bigger ship, and the Phantom, which is a smaller one we see her in the sort of dogfight with. And she's not human, she's a Twi'lek, and they've popped up all over Star Wars recently. And speaking of which, we also got a character from Rebels recently in Mandalorian, Zeb. He doesn't show up in the Ashoka trailer, but he's probably going to show up, or at least get mentioned in the show. Mentioned Ezra Bridger, though we don't see him, we see a hologram of him. So that's Sabine, Hera, Zeb, probably Ezra. Yeah, we're getting a Star Wars live action Rebels show pretty much. As I said, Ezra's the only one missing, and Ezra being missing, I think, is probably going to be a huge arc in this show. So I don't think this is going to be the only story arc in the show. It's probably going to be where the show starts off or picks up from Rebels, depending on which way you want to look at it. But anyway, back to the villains. We see Valen's apprentice, who I think is called Shin, attacking a Republic ship or base. It's probably a ship, and we also see a similar scene with Valen cutting the crew down in the corridor, Darth Vader style in Rogue One. So these guys are definitely on the offensive if they're not looking for something. I wonder if it is going to be, you know, they're doing their own sort of side quest, or they are planning some sort of attack or attacks. And we also get scenes of other Star Wars characters from the past and present. Mon Mothma from the Andor show showing up here. I wonder how big a role she's going to play in this show, because I think they'll probably save her for the second season of Andor. I don't think they'd want to overuse her. But anyway, enough of these heroes, let's get on to the villain, Grand Admiral Thrawn. Again, a character carried over from the Rebels animated show. He's a High Admiral in the Empire, or he was, and he's part of an alien race called the Chiss, and he's a master strategist, basically. He was one of the most high-ranking people in the Empire, and he was kind of plotting to take it over when the Rebels cartoon ended. He first appeared in a series of novels called The Heir to the Empire, which Ashoka says in this, and yeah, that did give me chills. If you got that reference as well, it probably did the same. But we don't see his face here, although it has been released. I don't want to get any sort of copyright strike, so I'll put a link to my Twitter below where I've posted it, and let me know what you think of the live-action Admiral Thrawn. But unlike most of the Rebels live-action characters, he's going to be played by the same actor that voiced him in the show, Lars Mikkelsen. Yes, I know who his brother is, but we don't need to talk about it. And this is absolutely prime casting. Like, I cannot wait to see Thrawn. He's not only going to be the villain in this show. Dave Filoni announced that he's going to be doing a sort of tie-up to the current arc of the Mando show, are all going to wrap up in this Mando movie. So it seems that Thrawn is going to be the big bad in the film, and it's going to be, let's say, him either trying to resurrect the Empire or create the First Order. And as I said, his sort of hench person, Morgan Elsbeth from the second season of Mando, is going to be back as well. She's going to be sort of behind the scenes, building armies and ships for Thrawn. And this is where I'm kind of going to get into spoilers a little bit more, so if you don't want to know any potential spoilers about the show, this is the time to leave a like and subscribe and call it a day. Watch another video, do whatever you want. We're quite happy that you got here. And yeah, this show is going to take us to new areas of space, but also show us new aspects or new ways of the Force as well. I'll get to that in a minute. Because the reason I say this is there's a scene where you see Valen fighting Ashoka in what seems to be the world between worlds, which, if you don't know, is again something from the Rebels cartoon, and it's sort of a spiritual plane of the Force. So this show is going to go deeper into the Force than anything that we've seen in Star Wars before. And when they get to the unknown regions, the Force is going to be seen a little bit more like magic. If you think of how magic is wielded in Harry Potter or Doctor Strange, that's how they're going to use the Force. There's going to be like incantations and spells, and we're probably going to see a lot of new Force abilities and powers that we haven't seen before. And keeping with the theme of Rebels, yep, the first half of this show is going to be the search for Ezra from Ashoka's point of view, and the search for Thrawn from Morgan's point of view. And it's going to turn out that Morgan is building a ship or fleet to try and get to this region of space and find out what's happened to him and bring him back. And we see that ships are being built from one of the lightsaber fights between Ashoka and the person with the two lightsabers. You notice in the background that it's some sort of fleet yards on a planet somewhere. So Morgan is going to be the main villain before Thrawn shows up, and she's got Valen and Shin as her henchmen or sidekicks. And there's going to be a lot of struggle to get to this new region of space, which is why Ashoka's hooking back up with the Rebels crew, because again, that show ended with Ashoka and Sabine saying they were going to look for Ezra, and it's been quite some time, so I guess they gave up, or they came to a dead end, or they encountered some sort of problem that was going to stop them getting from where they were to where they thought he was. So how they're going to overcome that, I don't actually know. But a little bit more about the villains. So Valen is an ex-Jedi who survived the Purge. He's got some sort of previous connection with Thrawn. He seems to owe Thrawn something, or at least he holds Thrawn in very high regard. So it might have been that Thrawn saved him from the Purge because he wanted to keep a Jedi in case he ever needed him. So Balin's more of a dark Jedi rather than a Sith. And Shin, I don't know really much about her other than she's Valen's apprentice, and she's going to have a very different lightsaber style, because if you look at hers, it's one of the more skinnier lightsabers, and he's got, let's say, the big fat sort of saber claymore style one, so he's going to wield it with a little bit more heft, whereas she's going to be sort of quick, you know, those kind of foil dueling things, I think. But as always, we're going to need to wait and see. And while Morgan has been trying to reach Thrawn, Thrawn has been busy in this new region. Basically, he's hooked up with a bunch of these sort of magical force users to help him raise an army to get back to the Republic and get revenge. People are saying it's a zombie army or some sort of possessed army, but I don't know about that. I mean, if they're going really that different and extreme on the force, that's going to maybe piss a lot of people off. But if it is true, I'll be interested to see how they're going to pull it off. But yeah, we're going to get to see a lot of new things in this show, and I said at the start of the video, a lot of old things in a new way. Animated characters brought to life, character arcs carried on from previous shows, and new strange areas in the Star Wars universe. So I'm really looking forward to it, because the Star Wars shows have been hit and miss. I loved Andor. Mando, I kind of like. Season 3, I don't know where it's going, but the last 2 episodes are supposed to be brilliant. But I think this show is going to be the one that starts to tie them all together. But as always, these are just my thoughts. I want to hear what you think in the comments below. Have you seen the Ashoka trailer? If so, what did you think? And what other Star Wars shows or movies are you looking forward to? Because they announced a few more as well. I'm going to be covering that in a later video. But as always, if you made it this far, please leave a like and subscribe. And my name's Al. Thanks for watching.